Hello and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. My name is Tommy, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. You can find my hand-dyed yarn company, Moonstone Dyeworks, at moonstonedyeworks.com. Welcome to episode 43 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. Thank you for checking out my channel. And a big welcome back to any returning viewers. I am so happy that you are here. Today is a nice, dreary, windy, rainy Friday in November on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. We do have a Ravelry group for this podcast. That's where you'll find the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes. It's where you'll find knit-along stuff, giveaway stuff, and all kinds of other fun stuff. There's an Ask Me Anything thread, there is an introductions thread, and I love hearing from you guys, so go check that out if you have not yet. I don't have any other real admin this week because we are between knit-alongs right now, so I'm going to get straight into what I am wearing. I am wearing my Herbarium pullover. This is a pullover by Nadia Cretin-Lechen. That is how I'm saying it. I'm probably not saying it right. But she's a great designer. I love her garment patterns. And this is the Herbarium. I love it. This is one of my very favorite sweaters that I've knit for myself. It's a drop sleeve construction and it fits so well. I absolutely love it. It was so fun to knit too. The yarn that I used for this is Sincere Sheep in their Cormo fingering, which I believe it is. It's 100% Cormo wool, and it's vaguely local to me from Napa Valley, which is a few hours south of where I am, and I love it. I love this pullover so much. It's one of my favorites, like I said. I love wearing it, and that's what we got going today. So, what have I been working on this week? A lot. I've been working on so much stuff this week. I was sick. I caught a cold this last week, so I was laid up for a day and a half, 2 days, and that allowed me some awesome knitting time. I took a little bit of time off work and just stayed in bed all day and listened to audiobooks and watched knitting podcasts and knit, and it was the perfect way to get better. So the first thing that I worked on this last week has now become a hoe. It's living in my Fat Squirrel holiday project bag. This is a project bag that I bought from her several years ago, and it's got all these little chickens on it, and I adore it. I love this bag. It was time to break it out. It's time. So here's my first hoe. I'm in love with it. This is Lollipop Yarns, the fantastic self-striping dyer of Etsy fame. I love her. Her yarn is pretty hard to get. She's one of those dyers that you have to follow her. Not on Instagram, because she doesn't post it on Instagram. Her Ravelry group is the place to find out when her updates are going to be. She does like one update a month, and you have to be there. It's one of those ones where you have to be there, know what you want to get in advance, click on it, buy it all within 5 seconds, or else it's going to be gone. So I was lucky enough a pretty long time ago to score this Whiskey Bent and Hellbound colorway, because when she announced this colorway, I immediately fell in love with it because I love browns and oranges and I love whiskey, and we were made for each other, me and this colorway. So I was lucky enough to get it, and I have told you before that I did knit this pair of socks a long time ago. When I first bought the yarn, I cast it on immediately, but I was still pretty new to sock knitting back then and they did not fit. So I frogged those socks a long time ago, and I finally recast them on into some socks that fit. So what I've done with these is cast on 60 stitches, which is not normal for me. Normally I do 56. But since this yarn is different than a lot of sock yarns that I tend to use, it's a lot thinner. So what I found works with this yarn for me is going up in stitch count and down in needle size. So I did this whole sock on a size 0 and 60 stitches around. I did a 2x2 cuff, and I did cast on with a German twisted cast on, which is my very favorite, and I got a slip stitch heel flap and gusset, and my very favorite rounded toe with the Kitchener finish. And I love this sock so much. I'm super in love with it. It was so fun to knit. You guys, vanilla socks are the best. They go by so fast. And it's awesome. I love her. So, oh, and I did the heel in a contrasting color. Brown. It came with it. It came with a ball and a little contrasting ball for heels, toes, and cuffs. This is what I have left of the main ball. And I'm getting pretty low. I don't think I'll run out, but if I happen to run out, I do still have my 2 original socks in their frogged and reskeined and rewashed form. So if I have to break into these, I can. I kind of doubt I will, though. If I don't, I'm just going to have these left over. I don't know what I'll do with them. Maybe mittens? Maybe someone wants them? I don't know. We'll see. Here's her tag, by the way. Lollipop Yarns. Seriously, amazingly beautiful self-striping yarn. I love her stuff. So, this is where I'm at with the second one. No cast-on-itis for me. Thank you very much. Here's my chocolate chip cookie progress keeper because it matches so well with these socks. It's so perfect. I am using my amazing Chiaogu Twist Mini interchangeable needles for these socks. I am such a convert. I love these needles so much. So they're the interchangeable minis. So they're the ones with the super thin, super flexible cord. This cord is just so good. I love it. These are the size 0s, and it's so cool that they're interchangeable because I can use the same cord, and if I change from cuff needle size to body needle size, which is normally what I do for socks, I just change the tips. I love it so much. So I'm a little ways into the cuff, not too far. And then this is what I have left for the heel. And I love these. Seriously love these socks. They're the best. And they're living with my new Pizza Progress Keeper. Alright, that's the first thing I was working on. The next thing is another pair of socks. Oh my god, I have 2 pairs of socks on the needles. It's rare for me. But I had to cast these on. Okay, so the Pin Feathers and Pearls podcast and the Cherry Pearls podcast is co-hosting the Socks and Space Knit Along, which is like the best idea ever for a knit along. So I did not participate last year when they had their first round, and I knew I had to participate this year. So check this out. Oh my gosh, look how long that is. So I am making knee socks. I've never made knee socks before. I'm so excited. So these socks are going to come up just below my knee. So, you know, just below my knee. And vanilla, I'm doing vanilla socks. I am using my Moon Age Daydream colorway. And I love them so much. So I kind of had to figure stuff out with these. I tried looking on Ravelry for a vanilla knee-high sock recipe that I could use, but my body size is generally quite different than a lot of patterns write for, especially socks, because I have small feet, I have small skinny legs. A lot of the times they don't go down small enough for me. I tried looking at kids' knee-high sock patterns too, but I couldn't really find anything. So I kind of just guessed, and they fit great. So the thing is, I do, like I said before, usually a 56 stitch count for a sock. But when you do knee-high socks, you have to account for the extra width of your calf. So, and I like to do top-down. So I had to start with a different stitch number than normal and then decrease in size, was my thinking. And that's what I did, and it worked out great. So what I did was I cast on with 64 stitches, which is kind of the next standard size up from what I usually do. And I did a German twisted cast on. And I started out with the size 0 for the cuff, which is normally what I do. Normally I'll do 0 for the cuff and 1 for the rest of the sock. And right about here, I switched to the size 1 because it was feeling a little snug. So here I switched to a size 1 and did the rest of the ribbing in the 1. And then I started the stockinette, and if you can see, it's kind of bulbous right here. This is all 64 stitches. And then right about here, I started decreasing. And how I did my decreases was I decreased 2 stitches every, like, I think 5th round or something like that. Yeah, I think every 5th round until I got to 56. And I just tried it on as I went just to make sure it was fitting well. And they fit great. They fit really nice and snug. And they kind of like, because you know your calf, at least my calf, kind of like goes in at the knee. So it's a little skinnier at the, this is so ridiculous. It's a little skinnier right below the knee, and then it goes out for your calf and then in at the bottom. That's how my leg works. And so up here, it's kind of snug, and then right where my calf starts to go expand out, it opens up for that, and then right below my calf, it gets tighter again. So they fit really snug. There's like negative ease in this, but they're not too tight, and I love how they're fitting so far. So I've gotten a lot knit on these. They are pretty dang long so far. And I think I have about that much to go before I start the heel flap and gusset. And I am so stoked about these. I've got my Tilting Planet Progress Keeper with the little stars in here, which is perfect for this cowl. And this is so fun to knit on. I love this colorway so much. This is one of my very favorite colorways that I dye. And here it is in the cake. And I'm just having so much fun knitting on these. I really, really love Moon Age Daydream. It's like, it's pretty much like a pinkish, it's like pink and like vaguely teal at the base, and then all the pops are like teal, and there's some like kind of fluorescent yellow in there and purple, and I love it. I just love it so much. I'm so happy I cast these on. I've been wanting to knit with this colorway for so long. So that is my knee-high socks for the Socks and Space cowl, using Moonstone Dyeworks in the Moon Age Daydream colorway. I've got the tag somewhere. Is this it? No, it's the other one. I would show you the tag, but I don't know what I did with it. I lost it. I stole it from the shop. Now, the thing is I currently only have one skein of this on this base. This is my BFL sock base, by the way. It's BFL wool and nylon. 2-ply fingering weight. And I am going to attempt to do this out of just one skein. So for regular socks, I usually use about 40 grams. I usually have a lot of yarn left over when I make regular socks. So I figure having an extra 60 grams to work with is going to get me up to knee socks. But what I'm planning on doing is, so knitting these down, I think I'm going to do the heel flap in this yarn. I don't think I'm going to use a contrasting color for that, but we'll see where I'm at when I get there. But I think I'm going to do the heel flap and gusset and then knit down the foot. And when I get to a little more than halfway down the foot, well, I'm going to weigh my yarn the whole time. I'm going to weigh my yarn, and I am going to knit to where I have 50 grams left, because that's half the skein. And from wherever that is, I'm just going to do a contrasting toe starting at that point. So I might have a contrasting toe that comes up farther on the foot than normal. I may just have enough. I may be able to go all the way down the foot and the toe before I get to 50 grams. I don't know. We'll see. If that happens, I might do a contrasting toe anyway, just because I like the sound of it. But we'll see. You know, I'm going to go with the flow on this. And worst case scenario is I'll have to do a large portion of the foot in the contrasting color, which is fine. There'll be 2-tone socks, whatever. And I don't know what contrasting yarn I'm going to use yet. I'm thinking like a tonal gray. Maybe. We'll see. Loving these, and this is living in my Sugar Tots project bag with the boxes on it. And I'm super in love with this. I do, in case you're interested in checking it out, I do still have some Moon Age Daydream left in the Moonstone Dyeworks shop on a different base. I think there's some on the Stellina sock base, which is the one with Stellina sparkle in it. So you can check that out if you're interested. Yes, that's it for those. Next up, I have got a new cast on, another new cast on that I'm so excited about, you guys. This is living in my Nightmare Before Christmas bag. Halloween is over, but in case you want to know how I feel about Nightmare Before Christmas, to me, you can watch that as a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie, right? I like to watch it as a Christmas movie, so to me, this hasn't really happened yet. And the time between Halloween and Christmas is like all Nightmare Before Christmas, right? Yes. Obviously. So in my awesome Nightmare Before Christmas project bag that a fantastic, lovely, and generous and kind viewer made for me is living. Are you ready for it? I am so excited. I'm so excited about this. Okay. So these are the beginnings of my brand new knitted underpants. I'm doing it. I'm so totally doing it. So this is the Majas Mameluker pattern on Ravelry. It's a free pattern for knitted underpants. And I have wanted to knit these ever since Ellie of Skandir first mentioned them on her podcast, maybe 3 podcasts ago. I like immediately became obsessed with this pattern and I wanted to make it and I'm doing it. So I am using, again, Moonstone Dyeworks, and this is my Lady Soul colorway in the Natural Merino base. So this is my 100% superwash merino, sorry, it's not. This is my 100% non-superwash merino fingering weight yarn base. I love this yarn so much. I have swatched with this yarn in the past, but this is my first actual project that I'm going to be making with it. And you guys, it's so nice. I love this yarn so much. It's so soft and so squishy, and oh, I'm just obsessed with it. So here's what I have so far. This is the waistband. So it's 2x2 ribbing. You do a pretty generous length of 2x2 ribbing before you start the rest of the things. And I had to pretty heavily alter the pattern. The pattern is written for one size, and she gives you instructions on how to adjust the size to fit your measurements. So I took my measurements and I swatched and I did some calculations, and I mean, that was not working, honestly. So what I did, my next step was to I looked through all of the projects that had already been made and logged in Ravelry for this pattern, and a lot of people have adjusted the size. So I just like combed through everybody's project notes and kind of figured it out from there. I decided to cast on, what did I do? I cast on 132 stitches. And this is being knit on a size 1.5 needle, US 1.5. So pretty much she publishes this free pattern in a blog post. And it's all explained out with one set of numbers. And so what I did was I just printed out the blog post pattern. And then I went through on all her numbers and just crossed out her numbers and wrote in my own. So this is pretty much based on a conglomeration of what other people have done and found works for them, and in combination with her instructions on what to do. So the original pattern calls to cast on 160 stitches. I cast on 132, and I think that's going to work fine. I know this looks really small. This looks like crazy tiny small, but I have put them on waist yarn and tried it on as a waistband, and it fits. It stretches obviously a lot because it's 2x2 ribbing. So it fits so far, and I'm gonna just go down and just continue to try it on as I go, just to make sure. And I think these are going to be so awesome. I'm so excited. And I really love the color. It's this, like I said, the colorway is Lady Soul. And it's this muted lavender color with grays in it and really subtle blacks in it too. I did dye a whole batch of this colorway, and it's going to be in the shop tomorrow. It's going to be on the shop. It's going to be in the shop on this base as well as some other bases tomorrow. And I did that because I haven't dyed this colorway in a long time. It was one of my very original colorways that I started dyeing when I started Moonstone Dyeworks, and I haven't dyed it up in a long time. But I did get a request for it, so I ended up just deciding to dye a whole batch of it, and I love it. I forgot how much I love this colorway, and I think it's going to be so perfect in these because it's so soft and mellow, and it's a really romantic color, this like muted lavendery grayish purple. I love it. But it reminded me that I wanted to let you know that my shop, Moonstone Dyeworks, if you see a colorway that you want, that I generally dye, and it's not in the shop at the moment, you can always request it. I am happy to dye special request orders for colorways that I do regularly dye. So if you're interested in something and you don't see it, just message me and we can work something out. But anyway, the needles. Okay, so the needles for this. I needed a size 1.5 needle on a pretty short cord because I didn't want to do like magic loop. And luckily, I used to, in my early sock knitting career, be a person who knit their socks on two 16-inch circular needles. I learned that from Laura of the Knit Girls. That's how she used to knit her socks. I'm not sure. I can't remember if that's how she still knits her socks. I'm trying to think back to like the last couple episodes where she's knitting socks in them, and I can't remember. But that's how she at least used to knit her socks, and I kind of learned a lot of my knitting tips and techniques from the Knit Girls. And so that's how I started off knitting socks. And when I did that, I decided I needed obviously more than one set of needles so that I could have more than one pair of socks going at the same time. So I accumulated so many 16-inch needles in sizes 0, 1, and 1.5. Because not only did I need 2 needles for each sock, I wanted multiple sets so that I could do multiple socks at a time. I have a ton now, and I don't do that anymore. That's not how I knit my socks anymore. I discovered Magic Loop, and I discovered that I love it way more than that method. I do not like that method anymore. I'm just, I've moved on. So I have a ton of these needles, and like 16-inch circulars are great for hats, but I never knit hats on that small of needles. So I'm like, what am I? I have so many of these needles, like, I don't know. They've just been like sitting and wasting away. And I finally get to use them. I was so happy. So this is a size 1.5 on a 16-inch circular needle. And yeah, they're coming along. German twisted cast on again. 2x2 ribbing. And I think I'm probably about halfway through the waistband. And I'm so excited to have these knitted underpants. It is, again, oh, and I didn't tell you the designer. Why am I so bad at that? So it's Majas Mameluker. That is the Ravelry pattern. And the designer is Maya Carlson. And these look so good on people. Seriously, if you go to this project page, or if you go to this pattern page and look through all the projects, people are modeling them. Usually people are wearing them like over tights, which I think is super cool. And they just look so good. And I cannot wait. I can't wait to wear them. I don't know how I'm going to wear them yet. I imagine I'll wear them over tights, just kind of around the house. Maybe as like pajamas, That's what I'm picturing. I kind of doubt I'm going to wear them like under dresses or skirts, like out into the world. But I don't know. We'll see. I just wanted them. I just really, really wanted them. And I'm so happy with this so far. I seriously love this base so much. I'm so happy with it. It's a newer base, and it's just so... It's so soft and squishy, and it feels so good. And I love them. And I think the non-superwash 100% wool is going to be so good for knitted underpants. So I'm really excited about this pattern. I am excited about moving through the pattern with my own notes rather than just following the pattern strictly. So we'll see how that goes with the sizing. I mean, yeah. Knitted underpants, you guys. I mean, I think you should make some. It's getting to be winter. They're really fun so far. Yes. That was that. Coffee break, and then I'll move on to my next one. Are you enjoying your late autumn? Is it late autumn? I think it's going to be winter soon. It feels like it's going to be winter soon. I am. I love this weather. It was crazy windy the other day. It was the day that I stayed home sick in bed. It was like my plastic lawn furniture in our backyard all blew over to the other side of the lawn. So stormy. Ooh, and it thundered and lightninged last night. Anyway. Also last night I had a dream that I went to Disneyland. I want to go to Disneyland so bad. I had a dream that I went to Disneyland with my family and like my extended family and my husband's extended family. And I was hanging out with everybody, and all I wanted to do was leave them. So mean. I wanted to like sneak off by myself and go to like the little kids section of Disneyland and just like hang out there by myself all day. That sounds so fun. I gotta go to Disneyland. Disneyland's like 12 hours. No, it's like 13, 14 hours away from me by car. I'm gonna go someday. Anyway, on to my next work in progress. I have been working again on my brownstone pullover. This is the one Christmas present that I'm going to be knitting for anybody this year, and it is for my mother's boyfriend. And here it is. Yay! So I am quite a ways up the body. Thank you so much to everybody who gave the most helpful advice last week. So last week I was in like a conundrum about what to do about the make ones in the pattern. And you guys told me, and this is just something I've never really thought about. I kind of like, if a pattern calls for make one and that's all it says, I kind of just do whatever I want. And for some reason this time I was like stumped about it. I was like, well, I don't know what kind he wants me to do. So you guys were so awesome and helpful. And I think this is what I've learned. And I'm so happy you told me. So when a pattern calls for make one and it doesn't tell you what kind of make one to do, what it's asking for is like the make one. And you can do make one left or make one right. And if it doesn't specify left or right, you can pick which one you want to do. It doesn't matter. So I just never really realized that before. I don't know why, but I'm super happy to know it now. And if you're supposed to do like a knit front to back, like knit through the front and the back leg of a stitch, it'll tell you that specifically, like KFB. So thank you so much to people who let me know that. It was super helpful. As soon as I put up the video and people started commenting that, I was like, cool, okay. And I went right back to this pattern. I started working on it and I got a lot done. So I have got this little cute snowflake progress keeper from Dyeworks yarns to remind me that I need to get this done by Christmas. So I did my 2x2 ribbing. I did my 2 bands of silver, and now I'm just in the great black hole of navy blue stockinette for a long time. I'm just knitting straight up the whole body like this. No way shaping, nothing, just like a million inches of this. So the yarn that I'm using is Cascade 220 Superwash. The blue is called Navy and the gray is called Silver Gray. And this sweater is a Cowboys themed sweater. So once I am done, I will be duplicate stitching a Cowboys star, which is the logo for the football team, on it somewhere. I don't know where yet, in the silver gray colorway. So I am doing one of the biggest sizes. I think it's the extra large. It might be the extra, extra large. And I'm coming along pretty well because I already have the sleeves done. That's what I started with, because that's what the pattern says to start with. So I have 2 sleeves. I've got, what is that, like maybe 8 inches on the body done. So I'm just knitting straight up the body, and then I'll attach the sleeves, do the yoke, do the shawl collar, and then I'm done. Oh, and then I gotta do the star, which I really hope I don't not do. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the star. So this is being knit on a size 7 high sharp interchangeable needle. And that's pretty much all there is to that. This is a lot of knitting. It's happening. Black hole of navy stockinette. It's worsted though, so I don't know. I don't know why that makes it better. It's good. It's getting done. It's getting done. He's gonna have a sweater by Christmas. He's really excited about it, which is great. That's exactly the kind of person I want to knit for, is somebody who's really excited about it. So, my last work in progress, I got a lot done this week, you guys, seriously, is something that I haven't picked up in a little while, because the last time I showed it to you, there was a mistake in it, and I said that I was going to rip back and fix that mistake and then reknit and continue on. I decided to not do that. I decided to just continue on with the mistake where it was. So, here's the bag it's living in. It's another Fat Squirrel project bag, which is most of my project bags this week. So I pulled out my Evenflow cardigan again. This is a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and it's a gorgeous, oh, so gorgeous cardigan pattern. Completely my style. Flowy, open, big, fat neckband. Oh, I cannot wait to wear this thing. I am knitting it with Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock medium weight, which is a sport weight, in the bittersweet colorway. I had a winding snafu. This is my second skein that I broke into this last week. I did a lot with the first skein. These are really big skeins. It's like 6 ounces, 405 yards. So here's the tag. And what I did was I put it on my Swift, and I was winding it on my ball winder. And about halfway through, so I got this wound, and then it turns out I had put it on, I had pulled from the inside rather than the outside of the skein, if that makes sense. So it got tangled. And it was my fault. It got tangled. So I had to cut it, and I had to rework it, and I pulled from the correct side. And I wound this. And then something happened. Oh, then there was a knot. There was a knot in it. No, was it? No, yeah, it was a knot. So I cut the knot, and then I wound the rest of it into this ball. So I have got, unfortunately, I do really prefer to work from, you know, a bigger skein, so you have less ends to weave in or less breaks in your yarn, but that's okay. Whatever. But let's show you my cardigan, you guys, because I got a lot done on it. And then I'll tell you about my whole mistake thing that I just decided to give up on. So that's where I am with it. This is the back. This is what the front looks like. Here's the armholes. And pretty much what I'm going to be doing is picking up at the armholes, knitting the sleeves, and then I'll pick up around the whole front edges here and knit a really, really thick neckband. I think it's like, I don't know, I'm just guessing. I think it's like 6 inches thick. It's really, really big. And I got so much done on this. So much done. Look at this fabric. I think it's so, so pretty. So this is a kind of slip stitch, vague, like mini cable, this pattern. And it's really easy, it's really fun to do, it's really simple. And what I had done originally was I did the increases in the wrong spot. So there are increases. So it's like in lieu of waist shaping, you increase as you go down the back. And I pretty much, for the first few increases, did them more frequently than you were supposed to. So up at the top, for the first few inches under the armholes, it increases out too fast. And I was originally going to rip it back and redo those increases, and I let it sit for a while, and I pulled it back out so that I could do that, and I was looking at it and I was just like, I'm too far removed from this at this point to be messing with that kind of thing, and I didn't have the brain power, and I was just like, whatever. I'm just going to continue on and start doing the increases the way I'm supposed to be doing them. So that's what I did, and I think it's going to be fine. Whatever. It's fine. And I'm really not worried about it. I was worried about it the first time around. I wasn't worried about it, but I was like, I'm going to be like a good pattern follower and just rip back and do it right and stuff. But you know what? I don't know. I'm good. I'm fine. So I'm really happy I did that because I got my mojo back on this thing like hardcore. I have done a lot on this. I think I was maybe about here when I left off last time, and I did all of this like this last week. So this pattern goes by really, really quick. I don't have that much left to do on the body, and then I'll do the sleeves, I'll do the neckband, and I'm gonna have a cardigan. I'm so excited. I love the color of this thing. I love the pattern. Ugh, I just love it. I can't wait until it's done. Cannot wait. And I seriously love this yarn. It's meant to be sock yarn, so it's got a really tight, plump twist to the plies. And oh, it's just so firm and bouncy, and I love it. It kind of reminds me, the way it feels, it kind of reminds me of this yarn for this sweater. I just love it. Love it so much. I like a nice tight ply sometimes, a nice strong ply. It just feels really good to me. So that's my Evenflow. Fantastic pattern by Joji Locatelli. I highly recommend making it. I love it so far. I really love it. And that was my second skein that I'm working on now. I have 2 more skeins of this yarn, so I'm guessing I'm going to have a lot left over. We'll see. So that's everything I've been working on. I am like so stoked on all the progress I got done this week. It's so awesome when you have a day to just like do nothing but knit. You get so much done. It's so fun. It was so fun. It's so lame to say like being sick was so fun. But yeah, when you kind of are able to give yourself that time to recoup, you have the opportunity to do some pretty fun stuff that isn't that like, you know, energy exerting. So that's everything. That's everything I worked on. I had really grand plans to do some spinning. I was like, a couple days ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do some spinning. I'm going to do it right now. This is so great. I got super motivated, and then I got distracted and I didn't do it. Oh well. I'll get to it sometime. Okay. That's it for everything I've been working on. I am going to move on to shop update stuff. My shop, Moonstone Dyeworks, at moonstonedyeworks.com and Moonstone Dyeworks on Etsy, is going to be having an update tomorrow, which is Saturday, November 11th at 10 o'clock Pacific time. If you're watching this after that, fear not, there's most likely going to be yarn left in the shop. I do still have yarn left from last week, so there's some good stuff there still. That I'm not going to show you today. But the new stuff that I'm going to add to the shop today, I will show you now. And I'm really excited about it. Pardon me while I grab them. Okay, first what I have is Lady Soul. This is the colorway that I'm doing my Majas Mameluker pattern out of. And as you saw before, it's a muted purple, kind of a lavendery purple. And I've got it on Stellina sock, BFL sock, and Natural Merino. This one is the Natural Merino. So if you're interested, these will be up in the shop. And I have created a holiday colorway. I have 2 ideas for holiday colorways, and I made one of them happen this last week, and I love it. And then my next shop update, I'll have my second holiday colorway that I've got living up here right now. But the first one that's going to be up tomorrow, Christmas on Mars. So this is Christmas on Mars. I will be having it on my BFL sock base, my Stellina sock base, and my Natural Merino base. And I love it so much. It came out exactly how I had pictured it, and I'm just super in love with it. It's like a silver gray base background, and it's speckly. It's mostly speckled with aqua and pink, and it's also got grays and reds and forest greens in it. And oh my gosh, I'm really excited about it. I love it. I'm gonna make some Christmas socks with these. So this will be up in the shop tomorrow as well, and I am going to be having a more warm-toned holiday colorway as well, like I said, coming out in the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. But this is all going to be in the shop tomorrow. If you're interested, check it out. And yeah, that's that. Christmas on Mars. That's it for shop update. Favorites. I was thinking this last week while I was sick about these 2 audio podcasts that don't record anymore, and I love them. They're 2 of my very favorite knitting productions ever. And almost every day I'm sad that they don't record anymore. Seriously, almost every day I think about them and wish they still recorded. So I thought I would tell you about them in case you were looking for something to listen to. They're both audio podcasts. They are both still available on iTunes, their back catalog, and listening to both of their whole back catalogs is so worth it. So worth it. So the first one is Cast On with Brenda Dane. And Cast On is a podcast that was put out by Brenda Dane a pretty long time ago. I don't really know the dates or the years for either of these, but years ago. And she recorded for quite a while, and her podcast is so entertaining and so hilarious. She is so charming and fun to listen to. She curses a lot. So heads up on that if you have an issue with that. But if you don't, and I don't, I love cursing. I love it when other people curse. I think it's highly entertaining. But her podcast is so good. It's just so entertaining and so fun to listen to. And she lived in, she probably still does, but at the time of recording, she was living in Wales. She's an American who was living in Wales. And she talks a lot about being in Wales and knitting there. And she did a lot of recordings like from the beaches there. She had a lot of music in her podcast. She told a lot of stories. She's a fantastic storyteller. She told a lot of stories in her podcast. And it was just great. I've listened to the whole back catalog of hers, and like, I think maybe once she kind of resurrected the podcast and I got all excited, and then she never did anything more with it, which was disappointing. But it's great. Check it out if you're interested in listening to something new and hilarious and insightful and funny and Kersey, check her out. Cast On with Brenda Dane. It's so good. She's a professional sounding podcaster. It sounds like you're listening to a radio show. It's so good. The next one is the Nitwits. The Nitwits were probably still are, a husband and wife duo. The husband was a professional voiceover actor. So he had a home studio, like a home recording studio with professional equipment. And they would record together their audio knitting podcast. And again, they were freaking hilarious. The dynamic between them was just, I mean, obviously they were married, they were in love, they had chemistry. It showed through in the podcast. It was so entertaining. And I feel like they did an audio podcast like nobody else has ever done. It was so good. Oftentimes she would have a glass of wine. They were really into drinking wine and talking about it on the show. She did a lot of really interactive things with her listening community. So she did a lot of knit-alongs. She did a lot of swaps. A lot of really interesting... She was just really interactive with her audience, and she was so welcoming and kind, and I just loved her personality. And they were, again, just hilarious. Like, she pulled off this thing that I love, where she was warm and welcoming and kind and likable, but also really real. You know what I mean? Like she was herself. And sometimes she said things that might offend somebody, but it never did me. I always thought it was just hilarious. And I don't know, she was just amazing. So she was the knitter, and he was not a knitter. He was the professional recording guy. Pretty much the idea was she was the knit and he was the Nitwits. And they were amazingly entertaining too. And I wish they still podcasted. They did the same thing where they stopped podcasting, just unfortunately without saying, I don't know, they just stopped podcasting. And then years later, they came out with another episode randomly, and I was just like, yes. And then they stopped podcasting again out of nowhere. I do still subscribe to both of those podcasts. They're still in my iTunes feeds, just in case. Just in case they ever come out with new episodes, they're going to be there. I wait for it. I seriously wait for it. But anyway, those are my favorites this week. Cast On with Brenda Dane and The Nitwits. Both of those you can find on iTunes. I'm sure many of you have already heard both of those podcasts. But if you haven't in a long time, listen to them again. They're just so fun to listen to. Go through the whole back catalogs for both of those. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. 2 amazing podcasts that I wish would come back. Yes, I am going to leave you there. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday or weekend or week, depending on when you're watching. I hope you're having a fantastic fall. I hope you can make it to the shop update tomorrow if you are interested. And like I said, stuff doesn't usually sell out, so if you're watching this after Saturday, November 11th at 10 o'clock, and there's anything you're interested in, check it out. It might still be there. And if it's not, and there's, like I said, something you want to see that you haven't seen in a while, or just that you want, let me know and we'll see what I can do. Okay, have a happy week. Have fun and stay awesome. Bye, guys.